Okay, I think we started. Question 7 now. What is the correct unit for a fuse? Okay, a fuse is this one. The reason, good way to know is that a fuse is basically a little glass cylinder, and it's got a thin bit of wire going through it, and this wire is designed to break if a current goes above a certain level. So that should help. Once you know what a fuse is, then you shouldn't forget the symbol. Let's continue with this question. Then the appliance is connected to a mains supply. The mains potential difference is 230. It's always 230 in the UK. I know in the last specification you had to know that number. It looks like maybe you don't need to know that number anymore, but it is always 230 in the UK. Calculate the energy transferred when 13 coulombs of charge. Okay, well, this is, again, I mentioned this a few times, there's quite a lot of questions where you don't need to know anything about the topic. You just need to know how to follow an equation like this. It tells you that the energy transferred is equal to the charge flow multiplied by the potential difference. It tells you what the potential difference is, tells you what the charge flow is. So it's just going to be equal to 13 coulombs times 230. Sometimes you have to convert the units, and then you would have to know whether or not you should convert the units. But if you don't know, take a guess. Most of the time you don't, and you don't have to. In this case, the answer is 2,990 ohms. Okay, so right, yeah. So I was just making sure I hadn't made a silly mistake. 2,990 joules. Okay. Right. So next page is down here. There we go. That was the picture of the cylinder. So another bit of exam tip here is if you leave a question blank and then you come to this one and you go, oh, that looks similar to one of the diagrams. So now you can learn from this diagram how to do a previous question, right? Write down the equation that links. Okay, so you have to just know this equation, unfortunately. There is no way around it. If you don't know it, you won't be able to do it. But I'll tell you now, it is current is equal to charge flow. You could just put charge. I often just teach it as charge divided by time, or time taken. You can rearrange it to charge is equal to current times time. Okay. But any rearrangement is fine. You're just asking for an equation that links to 3. Sorry. The fuse wire melts when 1.52 coulombs of charge flows through the fuse in 0.4 seconds. You've just come up with a formula for current, charge flow, and time. You now have to use that formula with these numbers. So the current is equal to charge flow divided by time. The charge flowed is 1.52. The time is 0.4. So the answer is 3.8 amps. 3.8. Now, good thing to know about error carried forward at this point. Let's say that you made a mistake over on the previous question. You wrote down a different formula. If you use that incorrect formula, but you used it correctly, if you used the incorrect formula mathematically correctly and got an answer by using that formula, they would still mark it correctly here because this is really just testing that you know how to use that above formula most of the time. So would you get it in this case? I think you probably would, but many times error carried forward just simply means why should you be penalized for not knowing that mark again in this next question? And so they allow the error to be carried forward. So it's almost like you lose this mark, but then assuming that was actually true and you used everything correctly and you got the right answer by using that, then they don't take away the next mark. So what would the 3 marks be for? Well, because it's a 3-mark question, it seems like quite an easy question. Well, they've given you the unit, so it's not for that. You got 1 mark for the right answer. You got 1 mark for well, for just, oh, okay, so I rearranged it. So they, yeah, well, okay, so you would still got 3 marks, but because in the mark scheme they've rearranged it to have charge, which is, so they've rearranged it to charge is equal to current times time. And then they were saying, oh, you could rearrange that now. So current is equal to charge. Charge is Q, by the way. Don't ask me why. Just is. But so they got 1 mark for rearranging it, but you didn't need, if you wrote it in that format, you didn't need to rearrange it anyway, and I believe you will still get all 3 marks. Specific latent heat. Wow, this is not to do with electricity, is it? So, but they do occasionally dip into these other topics. So my exam catalogue will probably say that this is electricity, but it's not. This isn't electricity. You have to know the formula for, it tells you here, use the physics equation sheet. So they're going to give you the formula for working it out. And so you just have to, so the formula to work out energy in this way is just energy is equal to the mass multiplied by the specific latent heat. In this case, specific latent heat of fusion. So it's not too different. Again, you don't need to know anything about the topic. You've got the formula in the formula booklet, in the equation sheet. So the only difficulty is just you have to flip back and forth. But you know, don't let the fear of that put you off. Don't realize when you're thinking, oh God, this sounds a bit tricky, I don't know, and you're stressing out. Just take a breath and go, oh, all I'll have to do is look at the question sheet and put these numbers into it. It's not too bad. And then you got a calculator, so these big numbers don't need to stress you out either. You just put it down here, and then just tap it into your calculator. But 175 times 205,000. Okay, and yeah, so does it tell you to round it up? It doesn't tell you to round it up, but well, we could round it. The mark scheme allows you to put 359. And that gives you, yeah, it doesn't say anything about, so I mean the answer is obviously 258.75, but 359 is what they said. Now why is it 359? Well, I don't think you get docked for this, but the reason why it's 359 is because it should be 3 significant figures, because these are 3 significant figures. But don't worry too much about that. I'm sure you probably still get the marks even if you put 358.75. Okay, so that's question 7, sorry.